In this video, I show you how I convert my two 12 volt 200 amp hour iTech World batteries into one 48 volt 100 amp hour battery. So on the opposite side of my bench there, you can see all those cylindrical cells, the purple color, all wrapped together. So that was the other battery I already opened. Ended up destroying the case on that one. So this one I did it without that. So to get the top off, I had to go around the entire top with a hammer and a screwdriver. Eventually it popped off like this, so just broke the glue and popped straight off. I wanted to make sure I didn't destroy this box because I have another future project in mind this would be perfect for. And since I already opened the other box, I knew how it was put together better, so it means I could do it without destroying it this time. There was like a fiberglass solid piece of board on top of all the cells that the BMS was sitting on, and you can see around the whole outside there has silicon. So I had to go around and cut all the silicon first with a Stanley knife, pop out the balancing cable. So that little cable I'm popping out right now goes to all the cells and helps the BMS balance the cells. To make it easier to get the fiberglass board off, I first got a circuit set and a drill and just unscrewed the bolts that are holding the cables on to the top of the cells. So they did have glue on there, but I could still just get them off easily. Just put the socket on there and just drill them straight off, except for that one in the corner, which I'll show you in a second. So I just had to kind of cut a bit of the excess glue off to quite pull them off properly with a Stanley knife, and they just popped off. So I popped them all off one by one. And I did notice, I don't know if it's whether it's just something I forgot to do, but as you can see on one side of the BMS there, they've got all the glue on the terminals, but on the other side they didn't. And also they missed one of those bolts there that holds the cables to the top of the cells. So then I got a screwdriver and went around the outside and just pried it a bit, and then I could pull the whole board off the top there. One of the cables was kind of stuck because the bottom of it stripped. The bolt got stuck and it stripped, so I had to actually cut that one off with the multi-tool. That was a bit frustrating, but it was all good, got it off. So then I could tip the whole box over. So originally when I did the other battery, because the cells are all glued in on the bottoms, they've used like a big double-sided tape. And I couldn't really work out how to get them out, so I cut the side of the box off. This time I thought, what if I try getting a heat gun on the bottom, heating the whole bottom up? So at first I just used the heat gun and tried that for a while, and it was getting a bit of heat in there, but it wasn't really coming loose. So then I got a hammer, started banging on it as well. And that was doing a little bit, but not quite. And then I started pushing on it with a hammer as well as heating it. And then also pushing on it with my hand. And after a while it started to come loose and work its way. So I could fold it over. As you can see here, I could pull it out and it finally came loose, and I was pretty happy about that because this looks like it was pretty quick, but it took me quite a while because I obviously skipped a bit of it. You can see it's all like loosened and weakened all the tape on the bottom. So then I could eventually pull it off. So I could do it without destroying the box, which I was very happy about. So you might be wondering how I'm going to make a 48 volt battery out of two 12 volt batteries. Well, because it's made of cylindrical cells, it means I can split the packs in half. So I just had to count halfway along on the cells, and then I can cut through all the aluminium bus bar using a multi-tool. So first I flipped it over, cut through the bottom, then I had to use pliers and just fold back a bit of the bus bars to make sure they didn't accidentally contact any point in the future. So look, as you can see here, I'm folding it back over, taking the protective cover off, folding it in half again, and cutting through this side as well. Basically I had to do this on all sides, make sure I completely split the pack in half. The multi-tool worked pretty well, because I had to be very careful as well that I didn't cut through into touch any of the cells. I didn't want to damage any of the cells or potentially pierce one and cause big issues. So I'd be very precise with my cutting. And then again, fold them over, all the little bus bars. Make sure that there's no potential contact. So it took a while. This is all sped up obviously. Put the protective cover back in, fold it back over, and now I do the top. So these are the main bus bars that run away along each side for the positive and negative. So that was actually surprised. I cut through fairly well. I think it's just because it's copper. Cut through it pretty easy with a multi-tool. And then same thing again. I folded this over a bit as well, just to make sure they didn't accidentally touch. Probably could have cut a notch out, but I just folded it over that way. Also cleaned up a bit of the mess with the vacuum there. Folded this side over. Then, because I wanted to make sure I had an even load that's being pulled off the bus bars, I drilled new holes each side, so that way I can put some bolts in each end and make sure the cells, the power is coming out of them more balanced along that bus bar. I then got out my multimeter and I measured which side was the positive and negative, and then clearly indicated with a permanent marker, so to avoid me accidentally causing a spark by short circuiting it. So yeah, negatives on this side. As you can see, the positive and negatives are right beside each other. Generally when you're putting a battery and you're creating it from scratch, making your own cells, obviously the positive and negative will be opposite each other. But in this case, because they've split the pack in half, it's beside each other, which means I have to diagonally run my cables from the positive across to the negative. So now that I've finished splitting the packs, I could now go along and attach all the balance cables. So there's 17 balance cables all up, one for the main battery negative and then one for each positive of all the individual parallel packs. So there's 16 sets of parallel packs. These packs are then wired in series to make 48 volts. There's tabs there where I could easily attach to from where the original balance cables were for the 12 volt battery. And then the other side I had to just attach it to the bus bars on top, because there's no tabs there. So then I have my terminal block, which is a 16S terminal block. I should have really got a 17S one because I didn't have a space for the negative cable. But I ran all the cables back to there. I sat the batteries in the shelf where I'm going to have it installed. Then ran all 16 of the cables back to that terminal block. And the negative cable had to just go to the negative terminal on the battery. Came along and then tidied everything up with some cable ties there. Just looked a bit neater. Now I had to join the positive and negative of the cells together, so diagonally. So I used a 35 square millimeter cable. Originally I was going to run two, one from each end of the bus bar, but I thought this should be sufficient, and if I have any issues later I can always add another one. The amount of current I'll be running through the battery will only be about 90 amps, so it shouldn't really be a problem with this 35mm cable. If I see there's any problems with the batteries balancing, like the cells, I can just always add another cable later, but I figured it should be fine. Do those up nice and tight, make sure they've got a really good connection. Then I had to do the same thing on the other pack down the other end, connect the positive and negative together diagonally. Make sure that's done up really tight as well. The screwdriver. Good thing about having the bolts through is you can really crank them up nice and tight. When you got the prismatic cells with the little terminals on the top, you kind of have to make sure you don't do them up too tight because you can actually strip it. But I didn't have to worry about it too much with these. Crank them nice and tight. And lastly, I had to connect the last two positive and negative together. Just a little short run here, which is good. I then attached the main positive cable to the positive bus bar. It runs all the way down to a 200 amp fuse there. So for the battery management system, I'm using a JK BMS. So it's just a 100 amp BMS and it has a 400 milliamp balance current. Good thing I like about these ones is they actually give you the option to attach your own cables directly to the BMS. So I'm using 35mm cable. Because a lot of the other ones, they actually come with their own cable attached and actually a bit small all the time. I quite often think like 7 gauge cable. So yeah, hooking up to the main negative terminal of the battery. And then I've got all my balance cable blocks there. I've actually attached the BMS cables in already to the other side of the balance block. So I can just plug it straight in, as you can see here. So plugging in the balance cables into the BMS and then everything else is done. I can turn it on and test it, see if it starts. They generally go along and check all the voltages on each one of those balance cables first to make sure they're all correctly in order. But I was pretty sure I had it right, so I didn't bother. So after I tested it and saw that the BMS was turning on fine, I went through and attached all the cables for the balance cable on this active balancer as well. So it's a 5 amp active balancer, and you can see here I've got the advantage of having the terminal block. You can have them all connected to the same balance cables. So I have to run separate cables for the balancer. Okay, what you see here is a recording from my phone when I first fired up the BMS after setting up the battery. So we'll come across here to the settings. Up here you see I clicked on LiFePO 4, which is lithium phosphate. Cell count change that to 16 due to it being a 48 volt battery. Battery capacity, change that to 100 amp hours. So for the cell over voltage protection, that's set at 3.65 volts, which is okay, happy with that. So the state of charge, 0 to 100%. So that means that once any of the cells hit 3.59 volts, the state of charge will reset to 100%. Okay, cell over voltage protection return, 3.58. So that means if at any point we trigger this over voltage protection, 3.65 volts, it won't allow charging the battery again until the voltage goes under 3.58 volts. So I'm okay with that, I'll leave that. Down here we've got cell under voltage protection return at 2.62 volts. So that just means that once our under voltage protection at 2.58 volts, so once the battery sits below that, it'll stop any discharging. But then once it gets back over 2.62 volts, it'll start allowing discharging again. So this is our state of charge 0% voltage. So that means if any of the cells in the battery get to 2.6 volts, it'll show a 0% capacity. At the moment, the continued charge current is only 40 amps. So I want to make that 100 amps. So we'll change that here in a minute. Make that 100. So the continued discharge current is 100 amps. I'm okay with that. We'll have temperature protections too. Later on, I'll change this charge under temperature protection to 1 degrees. Because you don't really want to be charging lithium phosphate battery below 0 degrees Celsius. I didn't do that at this stage, but yeah, that's what I'll do. So you can see here, the first half of our pack from cell 1 to 8 is sitting pretty balanced. And the second half from cell 9 to 16 is balanced as well, but not between each other, because obviously the first 8 is 3.3 roughly, and the last 8 is about 3.250. That's because we had the two separate batteries that I cut in half, so they're not balanced between each other. So what I'll do to begin with is this second half here, I'll get a 24 volt charger and I'll inject power into that half until it gets up to the same voltage as this side here. And then what we can do is leave the rest up to the active balancer when I do a full charge. Overall I'm pretty happy, so in future videos I'll have this all balanced up and I'll test what happens when I run it in parallel with my 280 amp hour 48 volt battery to see if you have any issues with charging and discharging, etc. Yeah, thanks for watching guys, hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned something, just thought I may as well post it on here. So yeah, make sure you like and subscribe if you want to catch some more videos. Cheers.